Hello, friends. Oh, my camera is. Hold on, let me turn this down. Oh, technology. Okay, that should be better. All right. Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited to be here. Happy Saturday. It's our Saturday at Stretchy live stream. And today is a wonderful day because it's like summertime. I think it's going to be 60 degrees in Chicago today. That's amazing, right? So get outside. What I wanted to talk about today, before y'all get online, because I'm sure you're all chomping at the bit to get here for the live stream. By the way, if you are catching the live stream late, scroll way ahead so that you can be live with me. That way you can ask questions in real time. Otherwise, I won't get your questions until later, okay? But what I wanted to address today was just how to do like super simple stretches. Now, I slept weird this week and I woke up with a funny tinge in my neck. And I was hanging out with somebody later in the day and started doing some stretches. And my friend was like, what are you doing? Are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm just fixing the problem. Like it's actually quite simple. When you understand what's going on in your body, you can actually fix a problem pretty quick. And he was like, well, I had the shoulder thing. And I was like, well, come here. And I fixed it. And like in 5 minutes, I mean, it was so easy. If the camera's shaking, Tommy has just discovered the camera. Come here, Tommy. Come on, Bubby. Come on, get down. Get down. Oh, cats. Anyway, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. It was just how you can really simply, there he goes, how you can really simply just remove a problem using resistance stretching. It's not just stretching. It's actually like this amazing method of problem solving. It just feels like stretching, so we call it stretching. And it's also like, it builds flexibility. So it seems like stretching is the right word. But there's actually so much more to it. And that's why I really have been wanting to do these live Q&As and to introduce you guys to resistance stretching through my channel here at Stretch Chi, is so that you can actually understand how super cool resistance stretching is, how effective it is, and how different it is than any other type of stretching routine than you've done before. When you add resistance to the muscle, when you stretch it, it changes the way that your body perceives the stretch. Your body actually perceives it as safe. When you do a static stretch, your body's not really comfortable in that position. You get kind of a panicky feeling, or like you get pain, right? When you do resistance stretching, that doesn't happen unless there's an issue or problem. And so what's really cool about that is that you can listen to those issues, you can listen to those problems, and actually learn a lot about yourself, how to self-diagnose, how to figure out where your issues are, and how to cure yourself of a lot of problems. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Now, I'm going to say it again. If you are watching this after like late and I'm live streaming 5 minutes early, the cats have this amazing cat tree and they're playing King of the Hill. And that was just a leaf that just flew by. I'm not outside, actually. Go ahead and ask the questions in the comments. Now, you do have to be a subscriber to my channel on YouTube to ask questions. I don't believe that's the case on Facebook. So whatever questions you have, feel free, put them in the chat now, okay? All right, friends. So let's say you wake up and you've got this little crick in your neck, or you've got like a knot in your back, and you're like, I don't know where that came from or how that happened. Like maybe you had a weird pillow configuration and you woke up with a stiff neck, right? Like that can happen. So then what we want to do with resistance stretching is kind of go through the tools that we already know. And hopefully you know some of these tools. You may be watching this for the first time, but my guess is that if you're here, you already know me, right? So if you take the tools that you already know and listen to your body in the right way, then your body actually tells you what to do. It's really fascinating. So I woke up with this like pain in the back of my neck here. And what I started originally doing, first things first, is I start testing. I know that's my trapezius muscle because I've stretched it so many times. I know that that's where I want to feel this stretch. I know that's where I want the release to be. So the first thing I do is go into this trapezius stretch and test it out. So for those of you who've never done resistance stretching before, let me just walk you through the stretch. You can try it, okay? And so just take your right arm across your body, grab your wrist with your left hand and resist between both arms. Okay, so you're trying to pull your arms apart. Hold that resistance the whole time. And then you push your right arm up towards the ceiling. So that shortens the muscle. It's like strength training. Then you take your left arm and continue resisting. So you're still trying to push your arms apart and pull it down towards your opposite hip. So I'm pulling down towards the left hip. When I get to the bottom, I just tilt my head over to the side and look down at my wrist. And at this point, I feel a stretch through here. This is a really important spot in the stretch because this is where you get the information you need. So as I'm in this position, and I don't usually hold for too long, I'm just getting enough information. So when I hold in this position for a second, I go, okay, I feel this right here in my neck. It's not getting to the knot. So I don't feel like it's quite productive. Okay, so this is what my thought process is at any time that I'm doing a resistance stretch. So I'm going to do that a few times just to grab information. Now, of course, if there's any pain or like real discomfort, I'm not going to do it. So yeah, it's mostly in my neck that I'm feeling this. It's not a bad thing. It's just not getting where the problem is. Now, I also noticed on that time, I got a little tinge in the front of my shoulder. So it's a lot of mind-body awareness, being very present in your body, and really working to make sure that you understand what you're feeling. That's a really hard thing for people to do because a lot of us ignore our pain, or a lot of people feel dissociated from their bodies. I actually was talking to someone recently who was like, I just have spent my entire life not listening to my body or not feeling like the signals I'm getting from my body are true. And so resistance stretching in the beginning felt very frustrating because that person felt like they weren't quite able, like not able at all to access the feelings in their body. But through just some resistance stretching, we were able to get things activated again and then really listen. Like you just kind of have to fine tune and like key in, like turn the radio knob to your body and you can feel what's going on. Or if you don't feel anything at all, it might not be because you're not making a mind-body connection. It might be because your body has created a barrier to make sure that you don't feel that connection in that muscle group. But we can find it in another muscle group, okay? So what I want to do now is go to the opposite side of my body. So I was stretching the back of my shoulder here, which is kind of like in the back and high. Okay, so it's like up here. So what I want to do is I want to stretch in the front and kind of low in the shoulder. So I'm going to aim for a muscle group called Pec Minor. Pectoralis minor connects to the top of your shoulders here, and it kind of fingers down, like it kind of splits up and fingers down and connects into your rib cage at the top here. So it's a really small muscle, but you can imagine if that muscle gets tight, it rolls your shoulder down like this. And when your shoulders roll down like this muscle is taking the brunt and being pulled. Okay, so that could be the cause of the problem. So what I'm going to do is stretch that out. So I'm actually going to go to the door frame because it's kind of a great place to get this stretch. I'm going to put my arm up here in the door frame and I'll walk you through this stretch to just show you how it works. So what I'm trying to do is pull my arm across my body towards my opposite hip, just like we were just stretching, but it's the opposite muscle because I'm pulling this time. I'm using the front of my body. But the door frame here is going to stop me. So I'm pushing into the door frame. And then as I push into the door frame, if I try to pull my arm down towards my other leg, it makes me twist a little bit. And then I'm going to untwist. So I'm going to try to pull away from that arm and get a nice stretch to the front of my shoulder. It feels really good. So you just go back and forth just like this. And this is releasing the front of my shoulder. And we talked about this a little bit last week because we kind of did the same stretch at the end, I think last week when I was talking about my friend who also had a neck injury. He had a pinched nerve. It's the same stuff, right? Same stretches. The important thing is that you're listening to your body. So here I am actually listening to my muscles and how they're stretching. Now, if I listen properly, I'm actually feeling this in the back of my shoulder here, which also tells me that I'm not getting the right stretch. Okay, this is where like understanding anatomy is really important. So if I wanted this stretch here in the front of my shoulder, but I'm getting it back here, then I have another problem to solve. Okay, so I'm going to go for that one. Now that stretch is this, we call it the L closer. So you're going to grab your elbow with your opposite hand. So this is my right arm and the left hand, and I'm going to push open for strength and close for stretch. And then open and close. What's interesting about this one, this is kind of funny actually, I have terrible allergies. And you may have noticed I'm a little raspy today. I have started allergy shots, allergy immunity shots, which is exciting. And also it's like being exposed to allergies in the middle of February, like, or March, I guess we're in March now. So thanks, body. But the allergy shots actually are in that line right there. So that could be why I'm feeling the tightness in this muscle group, right? But what's really interesting about that, it's not just that I'm tight in that muscle and that's the thing. The problem is that I'm tight in that muscle and it's creating a barrier for me to open up the front of my shoulder. That's something that I really would love for you guys to understand, is that there is a balance in your body that needs to happen for you to be able to stretch properly, to get effective stretching. And that's what we're looking for, is how do you create that balance? How do you find like the harmony in like front to back, side to side, and make sure that everything's all balanced in this perfect harmonious sphere of yourself, right? And when you can get your body in this right harmony and this right balance, then flexibility and mobility is actually very simple. And it doesn't have anything to do with how much you worked out, or if you've been tight your entire life, or if you had an injury or anything. Like when you find that balance, then your flexibility and mobility just kind of unravels on its own, right? Because there's no barriers. So like paradigm shift, if you are looking for flexibility training to remove the tightness in your muscles to make you more flexible, you're kind of looking in the wrong place, because it's not the tightness in the muscles that needs to be released. Like for instance, I don't need to stretch my hamstrings to touch my toes. And I know that's a really strange thing to say, but what I actually need to do is make sure that the rest of my body folds properly to allow me to stretch my hamstrings when I'm touching my toes. And that's the shift, right? Flexibility is about being able to fold so that the right muscles lengthen properly. You can't force muscles to lengthen thinking that that's going to allow you to fold. It doesn't work that way. The fold has to be there first. So what I'm creating here in this stretch is the ability to fold the back of my body so that I can stretch the front of my body. Okay, so now that I've done a handful of these stretches and talked your ears off, let's go back up here to the door. So I've got one arm up against the door frame here, and I'm going to stretch my pec minor muscle again. So I'm just going to pull in, this is strength training, so the muscle's short, and then I'm going to open up into the stretch for my chest. And now we have something different. It's right here. Okay, so this is important for me and for you guys to listen to your body and say, oh, now I feel it. Now I feel it where I'm supposed to be feeling it. And the reason why, it's not because it wasn't there before, it's because there was a blockage. And because there was a blockage, you weren't able to actually get to the point where your body felt the stretch. Okay, so kind of a weird thing to think about. But like I could do the stretch all day long. If I still have that barrier in the back of my body, it's not going to be effective. Okay. All right. Now I also want to stretch out because I'm still trying to problem solve this knot in the back of my shoulder, right? So I also want to stretch out my pec major muscle group, and that's a little bit lower. So pec minor is up here and it's deep. Pec major is superficial. It's right here. It's the muscle that you're always like, oh, right? Like people can make go up and down. Like it's the your big, strong, like bench press muscles, right? So to stretch this one out, what I'm going to do is take my arm like this, like a 90-degree angle, and I'm going to put it again in the door frame around the corner, or something. Like you could put it on the corner like this. See, you could see it, and twist in and out this way. But it's easier for you to see here if I'm like this. So I've got my full forearm from my elbow to my hand against the door frame. And then I'm just going to twist in. This is strength for the front of your chest. So my pec major muscle is short at this point. I'm going to keep resisting, and I'm going to open up by twisting to the other side. And then listen to my body. So I do feel a stretch in the front of my shoulder in that pec major group. It feels like it goes from my sternum to my arm, so it has this outward feeling. Like the tug goes this way, whereas pec major, when I was like this, the stretch goes this way, the tug is up and down. So the more you do these stretches, the more you'll start to understand, the more you'll start to put the pieces together, listen to the anatomy that I'm telling you so that you can start to learn these for yourself and understand, like, what is the stretch really supposed to feel like? And so I just do a couple until my body says, I feel productive. Okay, so eventually my body will be like, that's enough. Usually it happens around like 5 to 10 stretches. I don't usually have to do too many more than that. Sometimes it's 1 or 2 stretches, which is totally fine. All right. So again, if you guys are watching after the fact, I see that you're starting to show up, and I'm glad you're here. Be sure to scroll ahead so you can ask questions. And on YouTube, you do have to be a subscriber to ask questions. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, okay? All right, so now I'm gonna go back to my shoulder in the back here and see if I can access that knot. Now remember, when I first did this stretch, I was feeling the stretch up in my neck, which is not wrong. It's just not accessing where I need it to go, okay? So now I'm gonna take my arm across my body and grab my wrist here, and I'm gonna resist like I'm pulling both arms apart, just like before. I go up for strength, and then I pull down for stretch. And as I pull down, I'm gonna bring my head over to the side just a little and look down. That gives me a better stretch. And I feel it now. And that's so cool. You guys, it's so cool. I've been doing this since, gosh, the first time I ever got stretched was in the fall of 2003. I didn't understand anything about it at that point. I was just a client in 2003. So that was nearly 20 years ago. That's so crazy to think about. And I got certified in 2007. So again, we're looking at like going on 15 years, I think. Is that the right math? I don't know. I don't even know. What's 7 and, yeah, that's 15 years, right? Yeah. So I'm a musician and I stretch people. I count to like 4 in music, sometimes 5 if I'm being cool. And in stretching, it's like up to 10, but like I don't ever have to add 7 and 5. It's always got me. Oh, since I was a kid, there's a mental block on that one. Anyway, it blows my mind still that it can be so quick and so effective. So here I had a knot in my shoulder that people will live with for their entire lives. I mean, like, how many people do you know will go to a massage therapist every week to get massage, to get those knots worked out? But if you have to go every week to work the knot out, then it's not working, right? You get a little relief, but you don't get complete relief. Same thing if I go to the chiropractor to adjust my own body, but resistance stretching helps my bones stay in place, right? And most of the time I go to the chiropractor because one of my clients like pushed me in, in a funny direction, or I miss a step or something like that. But I don't have to go once or twice a week for an adjustment. My bones actually stay in place because my muscles are actually balanced. So that's really great until my muscles are out of balance and I don't have to go anymore, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So the point is, I just talked to you guys a ton. It took 20 minutes and I pulled the knot out of my shoulder, right? So if we cut out all the talking, I probably could have done that in 3 to 5 minutes. And it's that simple. So what it comes down to for you guys is learning resistance stretching and learning it in a way that you actually understand what your body's supposed to be feeling and you understand the stretches, you know the stretches well enough, and that comes from doing them repetitively, right? And even this problem solving by itself will happen naturally if you're doing your resistance stretching routine regularly. So what I would really recommend for you guys is to do my 2x2 program, which is on my YouTube channel. And I will put a link in the description below later on, but if you can just look on my channel for it. It's called Stretching Habit in 2 minutes a day or something like that. It's got a green background. That stretching program is so cool because all the stretches are super simple stretches, just like these, that you don't need any special equipment or anything to do. You just can do the stretches like at your desk at work. You can do them while you're waiting for the bus or like at the park when you're running. They're easy to do. You don't need a mat. You don't need to be wearing special stretching clothes. You can just do them wherever you are. And that's a really beautiful thing. There are 14 stretches. So every day you get a new stretch. You can learn. It takes about 2 minutes. And then you can, add those stretches onto your routine if you'd like, and just keep doing them that way. The other option too, if you want to dive in a little deeper, is my program called Stretch 2 101. Stretch 2 101 is on a learning platform called Thinkific. It's a paid course. It's only $10 a month, $9.99 a month. And you get a new video each week. And in each video, it starts you from scratch. It's like super easy. In each video, you actually work your way up into being more flexible, learning more things, learning more tools. So each video actually has a new resistance stretch that you learn for Stretch 2 101 is 16 weeks long. So it starts out with really basic dynamic stretching moves. Anyone can do them, whether you're a professional athlete or whether you're walking with a cane. It doesn't matter. Anyone can do these stretches. So Stretch 2 101 starts off super easy, and each week you get a new resistance stretch. You learn all about it. Okay, I teach you about what it's supposed to feel like, where it's supposed to be, the anatomy of it, how it affects your body, how it affects your mind and your spirit too, because our body is so connected to our emotions and our feelings and how we live life, right? So I tell you all of those kind of cool parts and pieces. And then when you get to Stretch 201, I start teaching you the intermediate stretches, and we just kind of shift out. Each week you get a new stretch, the old one goes away, and you just continue building your skills and your practice. I'm in the midst of filming Stretch 301 right now, which is super awesome. It assumes that by the time you get to Stretch 301, your body's completely balanced. And so at that point, what I do is take yoga poses that may seem intimidating or strange, or like, I don't know if I can do that. And there are some that I'm even like, I don't know if I can do this. And then I resistance stretch through the whole video, which is, they're not terribly long. Stretch 301 videos are about 45 minutes long. It's a good workout. The Stretch 101 is about half hour each video. And I take these yoga poses, deconstruct them with resistance stretching, and then remove all the barriers and go back to the stretch. And it's super cool to see the results and to actually feel what these poses are actually supposed to feel like when you've removed all the barriers. It kind of gives you a new appreciation for yoga and what it can be. So that's really cool. And then eventually I'll film 401, which is more of the mind-body connection, taking concepts of feelings and emotions and the mind-body connection, and just trying to make yourself a more balanced, holistic person through resistance stretching. So that I'm really looking forward to. But I got to get through 301 first, because, filming is a job, you guys. This is all work, and it's fun, but it is a lot of hard work, computers and stuff. I'm getting to it. But anyway, there are a few of you watching now, and I would love to know who you are, where you're from. Say hi. If you have any questions, now would be the time to ask. Otherwise, I'm going to go off on some other tangent, which I'm happy to do, but I don't know which one. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about today's Saturday stretch. Those of you who don't know, I actually put out a Saturday stretch video every Saturday, because it's called the Saturday stretch. It also is in my mailing newsletter. That one, basically what I do is I kind of key it in with the seasons too. And the season of this, where we are right now, is the Gallbladder Meridian. This is according to my own theories. So if you're a Chinese medicine person, you're like, we're not in gallbladder season, just go with me, okay? The gallbladder meridian runs through your head and like kind of zigzags, and then through your shoulder, your torso, and down the side of your body. Most of the time when we see issues in like musculoskeletal issues with the gallbladder meridian is in shoulder pain, but a lot of times hip pain, outer hip pain, like the glute activation, IT band issues, any kind of pain radiating down from the knee to the ankle. It could be outer foot pain, but that's not as common. It's mostly like the IT band pain and knee pain. So today's stretch it's called a seated rodeo stretch, and it's a really cool one. You just cross your legs like this. And I'm actually really tight in this muscle, so I'm interested to see. And maybe I'll do a little problem solving real quick so you can see. I want to stretch out my right side, which is this side. We're mirrored, so it'll look like the left. I'm very tight through here. Now the stretch happens when you straighten up. So you'll notice I'm not actually perfectly straight. I'm actually like this because I'm not ready to do that stretch yet. Okay, this is kind of my neutral. So then what I'm going to do is come down towards the floor and fighting gravity. This is really kind of a strength training move. And then from here, I'm going to squeeze my legs together and come up and try to bring my hips forward. Now, again, I always want to problem solve, right? So I want to see what I'm feeling. And it feels almost like it wants to adjust, like it wants to pop. I feel a little bit of strain in my back. It doesn't really feel like a great stretch. It has that feeling of like wanting to adjust. So that tells me, hey, maybe not yet on this one. Let's do some problem solving first and figure out what the solution is, right? So the next stretch is, this one's the outer part of the hip here. We call them the abductors, right? They abduct, they move away, right? The adductors on the inner thighs are the other side. So, just like I was talking about before, I want to remove any barriers that may be on the inside stopping me from being able to stretch the outside. It's all about being able to fold properly. And I know it doesn't seem like I'm folding there, but if I'm here and I come up like this, my inner thighs are squeezing together and they have to continue to be able to squeeze together. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to open up on this side, okay? So I'm going to do a very simple stretch called the splits in the air. You just lay on your back and bring your feet up towards the ceiling. Grab your knees on the inside, squeeze in for strength, and you just pull open for your stretch. This is an inner thigh stretch that feels really good to me today. Open and close. You may notice I have this thing I'm wearing. It's called Apollo Neuro on my ankle. I love it. It's my favorite thing. It vibrates just very gently to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system. So it helps you calm down. It helps you to be more in rest or digest mode instead of fight or flight. And it's very, very important for muscle recovery. So I like to tell you guys all about it. I don't have any interest in selling them or anything. I don't have any codes. I don't have any promo codes for you. I don't have anything. I don't get any kickbacks or anything, but it's just a product that I really love and can endorse because I use it myself. It's called Apollo Neuro. It helps you sleep. It helps you recover from jet lag. It helps you recover from stress. It helps you feel more awake if you want to. There's all these different settings. It's very cool. And the big thing is that it helps increase your heart rate variability, which is a signal for how you're handling stress. So if you know how to track your heart rate variability, that's super cool stuff. Okay. So anyway, I just had to pull it out because people are always like, are you wearing a tracking bracelet? I am not. I am not under house arrest. I promise. So even after that one stretch, I'm going to go back and just see how it feels now. So I was doing this, crossing my legs, doing the same thing. That's much different, right? You can even notice that I've got more range of motion. If you see where I'm stretching, I'll show you from this side again. So I don't have that same feeling of it wanting to pop anymore, but I do have a little bit of some sensation. I wouldn't say it's pain, but it doesn't feel great in my spine. And that tells me that I'm having an issue with my psoas muscle. Now, the psoas muscle and the TFL muscle, which is right here, the psoas is here, so my hip bone's here. Psoas is on the inside, the TFL is on the outside, and that's really what I'm trying to stretch, okay? But my psoas may be trying to help out a little bit because they have a compensation relationship, which means that the psoas will totally help out. I'll do it this way so you can see. The psoas will totally help out if given the opportunity, but it's not its job, right? The psoas muscle's job is to pull my knee up. The abductor's job is to push my leg open. So, but they can kind of take over for each other. So, you know, we don't necessarily want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is the resistance stretch, try to pull that out. And then I'm going to go back and see what happens. Okay. So in this one, I'm in a lunge and I'm going to try to scissor my legs so that my front leg is pulling back and my back leg is kicking forward with just a little resistance because I don't want to overpower. Hip flexor is not a very strong muscle. So we don't want to use extra muscles in this case, right? Sometimes people resist really hard and they end up like really working their hamstring on the other leg, which is pointless. And also really activating the quad muscles. So in this stretch, I don't want to feel my quads down here. I want to feel the hip flexor here. And so you just go back and forth just like this. Now, again, if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat now because I'm going to log off after I do this problem solving if we don't have any other questions. Okay, so now's your chance, my friends. Do it now. Do it. All right, and from here, I feel that nice stretch. I feel good. So now I'm going to go back and do that little bit of problem solving and see if I can get my hip to open up a little bit. So I've got, this is my right leg. Again, it'll look like the left because we're mirroring. And I'm going to strength train by coming down. I'm squeezing my legs together to get resistance. And as I come up for that stretch, I feel a lot more productive, a lot more healthy. My back doesn't hurt anymore. So I'm just going to go back and forth just like that. Oh, yes, this is a good one. I have a tendency to sit on my couch with my legs turned in a very specific way. And I know people say that, like, you know, you should sit exactly right and whatever, but that's kind of like saying that you should always sleep on your back too. Like, it doesn't really happen. Like, people who always sleep on their back, like, or say they always sleep on their back, are either natural back sleepers or they fall asleep on their back and wake up on their stomach, right? I am definitely a wake up on my stomach type. So same thing on the couch. Like, I don't sit on my couch like a normal person. I sit on my couch like all curled up in a ball because why not? It feels good. But then my hip gets, you know, it gets a little angry. All right, very good. So that's just a little introduction for you guys about how to problem solve and why it's so important. I do not see any questions in the chat, so I suppose that's it. I'm so glad you guys showed up today. I am really, really thrilled that I finally got this live stream thing working. I think I've got it down. I'm like excited. It took me like 2 months to get the right balance, but I think I've got it down. So if you guys have any questions after the fact, feel free to put them in the comments and I will address them next week. Okay? All right. Until then, I will see you guys next time. All right. Have a good week. Bye-bye.